It's happening. Ready to see the first page? Okay, before I get into this manga panel that, by the way, I'm so excited to start on, I wanted to briefly talk about some changes in my learning schedule. It's also thundering in my area at the time of this recording, so I apologize if you hear any thunder. So I reviewed my schedule for my studies and thought about how effective it is. I'll benefit from my studies best by planning ahead. Each study will help me to improve, but only after repetitive practicing. I'll include the old schedule on the screen here for comparison. So this leads me to changing my studies by starting with style creation in July, coloring color theory in September, composition in October, and storyboarding in December. First and foremost, I will be able to create a manga art style of my own much sooner as opposed to my previous schedule. Then, enhance that art with coloring and color theory. Learn the principles of proportions, focal points, lines, flow of the manga, and balance of black and white in a composition. Then, finally closing my studies through storyboarding and practicing the art of creating manga panels, which will lead me to the beginning of creating my manga. So, thank you for staying tuned, and let's start with my first attempt at a manga panel by implementing what I've learned from creature design so far. A little disclosure here. This manga panel has no relation to my actual manga in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it doesn't relate to the story at all. So you may be wondering, okay Anoobish, then what the are you drawing this panel for? That's simple. It's because I want to get good at drawing panels before I do the real thing. And what better way to start than now? So what I'm doing is I'm incorporating a creature and a character from my previous drawings and see if I can recreate them in a manga panel. Have you started drawing manga panels? And how did you approach it if you have done so already? You know, I've seen some really good manga panels from underground artists, and they're really good, or at least some of them are really good, and I'm not sure why they don't get as much attention, but I guess it just is what it is, right? But, well, I know my panel is not going to get a lot of attention, but that's because it wasn't created for that purpose. Its purpose is for me to practice. And for today's contestants in the Hunger Games are Esther from my drawing Water and Abomination from my shorts video. I'll leave some links down below if you want to check those out. And may the odds be ever in their favor. One thing that a manga artist should never do is explain their art panel to their audiences. Have you ever done that? Like, show someone your drawing and they're like, bro, what am I looking at? Then you try to explain to them what the drawing is and they're like, now I see it. Yeah, a manga artist should never have to do that. And here's why I'm going to explain mine. I know that's contradicting, but I'm explaining for the purpose of learning and analyzing my own drawings and thought process, okay? So if my art panel looks confusing to my audience, that means that my drawing is too difficult to make out or understand, which also means that I will inevitably lose my readers. So I, or we, if you're an aspiring manga artist, have to find a way to draw our art in a way that will be easy for the reader to follow along, and this means the flow of the reading. Is it easy to read along, you know? Are the letters too small, or maybe they're too big, etc.? That is the reason why I numbered the panels at the start, so that I know how the action is going to be read. So what I've learned is that when creating a manga panel, I have to be organized. I have to know precisely what is going to come first, what will come last, and what I should emphasize on. Where should the reader or audience be looking, because overall, it's all about controlling the narrative. What is the message I want to get across to my readers? What am I trying to tell them? Am I right? How many mangas have you read where you just sit there and feel like it's too hard to follow along, or you have to do an unconscious hair flip? You didn't look good doing it, but you did it because you had to find out whether you read it wrong or you confirmed your suspicions and it sucks. Yeah, well, this is how I believe I will avoid that. And well, that's all I have for today, and stick around to see the complete manga panel on my next video.